Forgive me, old friend.
The dagger sank deep. The Skyfire coach crumpled without a cry, his final breath misting into the red leaves. The notebook on his chest still pulsed, a dying heartbeat trapped in leather and runes. 3 sunsets later, a 17-year-old village boy named Asahi pushed too far into the Crimson Forest, chasing a rumor he couldn't explain.
A corpse! But that light, it's like it's calling me.
He knelt, compelled by a warmth that had no reason to still burn inside a dead man.
These runes, they're alive, just one page.
The symbols ignited the instant his gaze locked on them. Fire crawled up his spine and into his skull. His eyes blazed molten orange. Then everything went dark. For 3 days, Asahi lay beside the dead coach, the notebook's dim glow seeping into the fresh scar forming over his heart. Dawn broke through the crimson leaves. Asahi's eyelids twitched, and the scar over his heart throbbed like a second pulse.
Why are they bowing that Wyvern could crush a house? Get up! All of you! Stand!
The Wyvern rose first, its massive wings folding against its spine like a servant awaiting orders. One by one, the others followed.
That notebook, it changed something, but I don't know what.
He clutched the notebook to his chest and walked. Behind him, the forest emptied of its fiercest players, falling into unnatural formation.
Stay here! If anyone asks, I am not your captain. Not yet.
The Wyvern dipped its head and retreated into the tree line, but the villagers had already frozen, hose in mid-swing, gossip in mid-sentence. Word of a boy who commanded a Wyvern spread through the valley faster than fire. By dusk, the neighboring town's captain had canceled practice. When Asahi finally stepped onto the practice pitch, every opposing player hit the ground on one knee before the whistle could blow.
Even their captain is kneeling, and I didn't say a word.
The referee forfeited the match. Not a single player could bring themselves to stand, let alone kick the ball. In the VIP box, Elder Taigo of the Royal Captains Guild lowered his spectacles. He had seen prodigies before, but never unconditional surrender.
That boy. What's his name?
The name came from a hasty report. Asahi, village boy, no formal training.
Send a carriage. Bring him to the guild by tomorrow.
But the village was already emptying. Asahi had slipped away before the whispers could become chains.
I can't stay! Every match I enter, my shadow breaks their will.
By the time the guild carriage arrived, Asahi was already hiking toward the nearest city and the only entrance exam for the Royal Captains Guild. He didn't know the guild was already hunting him. The notebook pulsed once, warm against his chest, as if agreeing with a decision he hadn't yet made. The Royal Captains Guild gate towered before him. Asahi's legs burned from the hike, but the scar on his chest hummed with quiet insistence.
If they want to test me, fine. But I need to understand what this notebook did to me.
You walked here yourself. Most recruits wait for the carriage.
I didn't come for a badge, Elder. I came for answers.
Taigo placed the badge into Asahi's palm. The scar pulsed, and the hall's ancient banners shivered as if struck by a silent wind. 7 days later, Asahi stood on the pitch opposite Captain Yorin, the SSS-Rank prodigy who had never surrendered a match.
A village boy with a glowing chest. Don't embarrass yourself. My wolves will tear through you in minutes.
But the wolves dropped first. Jorin's own formation collapsed into kneeling statues, and the crowd's roar died into stunned silence.
I can't stand up. His presence, it's like a command hammering inside my skull.
SSS class, the highest rank, and Jorin knelt like a common soldier before an unseen king. The guild's senior captains scribbled in their logs, not a prodigy, a natural captain. The next 3 matches ended the same way. Opponents bowing, forfeits piling up, Asahi's own feet barely touching the ball.
I am winning, but my own team won't look at me. They don't need to play, just stand there and watch.
His teammates' stats plummeted. Without real play, their skills atrophied, and jealousy curdled in the locker room.
He's not just a prodigy. That notebook on his chest carries a tactical logic no living coach has seen.
From her vantage point, Princess Coach Risa had tracked every forfeit, mapped every surrender pattern, and now she wanted the source.
I need to see that notebook up close. And the captain who carries it. before the guild breaks him or he breaks the game.
Asahi walked off the pitch alone again, the stadium's cheers clawing at his back like accusations.
What's the point of a captain who makes his crew unnecessary? I am not leading. I am just an eclipse.
That night, Joran's humiliated face replayed in his mind, a mirror of every captain the notebook would force to kneel. Risa sent word through the guild. She was joining his squad not as a spectator, but as his coach, whether he wanted one or not. Asahi found Risa waiting at the practice field, clipboard in hand, her violet eyes already dissecting his stance.
You are not a prodigy. That glowing scar is a tactic rune, something from the old coach's playbooks. Show me the notebook.
She doesn't ask. She commands, and she's the first to name what's on my chest.
He handed her the worn leather book. Risa traced the runes, her finger pausing where half a page had been torn.
Pages are missing. This wasn't random. Someone removed them deliberately. The runes here form a binding command, but incomplete.
Binding? Is that what's forcing captains to kneel? And who would tear pages from a dead man's book?
Risa pulled aside his vest. The tactic rune scar pulsed red, almost in response to her touch.
This scar is the receiver. The notebook is the transmitter. Together, they impose your tactical will. Without missing pages, we can't control it.
Can't control, or can't stop. Every match I play, I lose more of myself.
They agreed to begin the search at dawn in the guild archives. If answers existed, they'd be buried in the century-old records of the Skyfire coach. The guild archives smelled of dust and old ink. Risa's lantern cut through the dark as she pulled a ledger marked Skyfire, restricted.
Here, the coach vanished 200 years ago after an unrecorded match. No body was ever recovered, officially.
But I found the body. They buried the truth.
Another page showed a faded mural. Captains from every era bowed to the Skyfire coach, their eyes blank, their formations absolute.
This wasn't coaching. This was control, on a continental scale. The notation here says, Shepherd.
Shepherd! And the missing pages are the flock's leash. Someone wanted that power dead.
They returned to Asahi's quarters at dusk. Under the door, a folded note lay on the floor. Rough parchment, no seal. The note read, "The summit is a trap. The one who ended the Skyfire walks among the captains."
Risa, we're already marked. If the killer wants me there, I'll go, but not to be hunted. To end this binding.
Risa burned the note before morning patrols could find it. The summit was in 10 days, and they'd arrive unannounced. 2 days before the summit, an Eastern District captain issued a public challenge, and a pack of reporters.
He's fighting the binding, gritting his teeth, the first to resist this hard.
But when the whistle blew, resistance shattered. The rival players hit the grass in waves, and the crowd's cheers curdled into boos. Boycotts erupted overnight. 3 teams publicly refused to play as long as Asahi's unnatural advantage remained unchecked. Elder Taigo summoned Asahi to the guild hall. No pleasantries this time.
Your power has cracked the league. Captains call for suspension. What you carry isn't a gift. It's a weapon we cannot control.
Then help me understand it, Elder. If I stop playing, the binding still exists. I am the one it's anchored to.
Risa stepped forward, clipboard out. She'd been waiting for this audience.
We're not asking permission, Elder. At the summit, we'll face whoever killed the Skyfire coach and recover the missing pages. The answer waits there.
Taigo's silence stretched too long. When he finally spoke, it wasn't to stop them, but to warn that failure would brand Asahi a living threat. After 3 hours decoding, Asahi found the runes that spelled coordinates to a forgotten shrine.
The pages aren't random, they're a map! This rune points to the Crimson Temple.
They trekked into the hills where an overgrown temple waited, its stone doors already forced open.
Someone got here first. This carving reads, Warden's key rests where our voice broke.
Voice broke. The coach's last breath. The key is hidden where he died, but we never found anything there.
Unless the pages were removed before you got there. The killer took them and left the notebook as bait.
Asahi pressed the scar, and the altar stone hummed in resonance, revealing a hidden niche. Inside, a parchment fragment glowed with twin runes, one for binding, one for release. To free the flock, let the shepherd speak the binding reversal under the same constellations that stitched his heart.
The summit night, the eastern constellation aligns perfectly. The killer will be there waiting to stop us.
The Continental Captain's summit opened under a dome of banners. Asahi clutched the invitation scroll, its gold trim biting his palm.
Every captain in the continent is here, and somewhere in this hall, a murderer is watching.
Risa walked a half step ahead, scanning faces like formations on a pitch. The great hall silenced as they entered, whispers trailing. The senior guild leader pronounced the summit's purpose, to address the unnatural binding plaguing the League. Before the debate could settle, a cloaked figure stepped from the shadowed alcoves. Metals glinting, voice cracked but steady.
You speak of binding. I am the one who cut the original leash. I killed the Skyfire coach.
Silence crashed. Captains who had never kneeled gripped their armrests. The name Kenji spread like fire through the seats.
The old coach made captains into puppets. I freed the game. And now that power lives in a village boy who thinks it's a gift.
If you hated the binding, why leave the notebook? Why not destroy it entirely?
Kenji's gray eyes flickered. The answer hung unspoken, but it was clear the missing pages explained far more than murder.
200 years ago, I drove that blade not from hatred, but to free every captain from an invisible cage.
The Great Hall listened as Kenji opened a wound the guild had buried for centuries.
The Skyfire coach wasn't a tactician, he was a shepherd. His presence could end a riot with a glance, but he didn't just keep peace, he prevented ambition. Matches became rehearsals. No captain ever truly led.
Records from the coach's death confirmed it. Within a year of his murder, matches turned bloody. Stadiums burned.
So without the shepherd, the sport devours itself. And I am the new shepherd.
You inherited the binding. You can either rule every captain forever, or release them and watch the game tear itself apart again.
There's a third option. The fragment speaks of a reversal ritual. If we can find the rest of the pages.
The pages won't change the truth, girl. Release is a lie. After the coach died, I tried to let captains lead themselves. 6 stadiums burned.
The summit fractured into shouted arguments. Asahi stood in the center, the scar burning, a choice no 17-year-old should make. Asahi raised his voice over the arguments. He would prove release was possible, live in front of every captain.
I'll test it. I've been on my knees before. Let me stand for myself.
Asahi placed his hand on Jorin's shoulder. The scar flared and the binding rune from the fragment pulsed against his palm.
I can think. I can really think for myself.
Then, Jorin's expression twisted. The release had snapped something deeper. Primal rage flooded the gap where control had been.
Out of my way. I'll never kneel again. To anyone.
Asahi clenched his fist. The scar blazed and Jorin crumpled, the binding crashing back over him like a cage door.
That is your third option, girl. Release doesn't free them. It breaks their minds. I watched it happen before.
Then we find the complete ritual. That fragment wasn't whole, and neither is this failure.
The summit adjourned in uneasy silence. Asahi hadn't won, but he hadn't surrendered. The missing pages held the key, and Kenji had them. That night, as the summit halls emptied, Captain Lin slipped through the moonlit corridor, a young woman with a short green bob and an ancient manuscript pressed to her chest.
I know you want to free the captains. This manuscript was buried by the guild for a reason. It describes a way to share the shepherd's burden.
She opened the brittle pages. Diagrams showed a circle of captains, each holding a fragment of a glowing orb, the shepherd's soul divided into pieces.
Instead of one shepherd controlling all, a council of 7 can collectively anchor the binding and slowly release it as captains learn independence.
A gradual transition. That's why Jorin went berserk. His mind couldn't handle sudden freedom. This method builds self-leadership over time.
This is the third option we were missing. But the manuscript calls for the original binding runes, the ones Kenji tore out.
The Skyfire coach created this as a failsafe. Kenji must know. He served the coach. He might give you the pages if he believes it can work.
He watched stadiums burn after his own failed attempt. If we show him a stable path, he might finally let go of his guilt.
The manuscript's final page outlined the council ritual, to be performed under the same constellation that stitched the shepherd's heart. The Eastern alignment was only 2 days away.
Tomorrow at the summit, we'll confront Kenji openly. Not to fight him, to show him the only way his old friend's dream can survive.
When the summit reconvened, Asahi walked to the central podium, the youngest captain in the hall, but no longer an outsider.
The Skyfire coach left more than a notebook. In the archives, we found a design for a council of 7, captains who share the shepherd's burden and train others to lead themselves.
He held up the manuscript, diagrams of shared power, gradual release, the exact opposite of Kenji's brutal severing.
You think a piece of paper erases 2 centuries of failure? Sharing the binding only spreads the poison.
Kenji lunged forward, decades of bitterness propelling a fist toward Asahi's chest, but the scar blazed before contact. The binding that once let one shepherd command all locked Kenji in place, an involuntary kneeling he'd inflicted on others.
I could force you to kneel forever, just like you did to everyone else. But I won't, because the council is the only way to end this without breaking anyone.
He released the hold. Kenji collapsed onto the dais, not from pain, but from the weight of seeing his own weapon turned into an offer of peace.
He didn't break me. He could have, and he didn't. Maybe this boy is the real shepherd.
The summit's murmur shifted from fear to curiosity. For the first time, the captain saw the binding not as a curse, but as a bridge they could cross together. In a windowless guild room, Asahi faced the 7 council members. Notebooks open, formations unassigned.
To teach you to lead, I must stop leading. I'll suppress the binding long enough for you to find your own commands.
He pulled the scar's heat inward, the rune blazing against his ribs. His vision blurred at the edges.
Asahi, your scar is burning hotter. Suppressing everything is tearing at your heart. We can't keep this.
But look! Jorin is reading a formation without my voice in his head. It's working, even if it's killing me.
Jorin's hand trembled. The ghost of Kenji's frozen surrender haunted him. Without the shepherd's voice, his own will felt paralyzed.
I can't. My instincts scream for your order. Without it, I freeze or want to smash everything.
The scar pulsed, lashing out. Jorin froze mid-reach, held by the force that had paralyzed Kenji.
Sorry. I am learning to let go. Just a moment.
He withdrew the binding again, but the cost was clear. Each session drained him more, and the council was far from ready. On the 5th day of training, Asahi pushed the suppression to its limit, holding the scar's blaze deep enough to let the council command a full simulated match.
Just a little longer. If they can hold the formation for 5 minutes, I'll know it's possible.
But the scar rebelled. A silent crack spread from his heart, and Asahi's knees buckled. The binding snapped back into place, and the council froze mid-play. Their fledgling independence ripped away.
He's down, but you don't need him to order you. You've been training for this. Call your own plays.
In the shadowed corridor, Kenji's lips curled into a thin smile.
Still breaking things, boy. Some shepherd.
Asahi, you are bleeding internally. If you suppress again, you'll die.
Then I'll find another way. But they started to move on their own. That means the method works, even if I can't be the one to finish it.
He pushed himself upright, but the scar's glow was weaker now, a sign that his time as the shepherd was running out. 3 days later, Asahi limped onto the practice pitch and gathered the council. His scar barely glowed.
This is the final test. A full match, and I won't say a single command. You lead yourselves to victory, or you fail.
The whistle blew. For the first 10 minutes, the council played like strangers. Passes went astray. Risa clenched her clipboard.
Lin, cut left. I'll draw the defender.
Jorin's shout cut through the noise. It wasn't a plea for guidance. It was a real tactical call, born from his own mind.
I am through, now.
Lin drove the ball forward, and the council moved like a single entity, without a binding, without Asahi's voice. The ball hit the net in the final seconds. The council had won by 1 goal, but entirely on their own terms.
Asahi, they did it. They led themselves.
Asahi let out a breath. He'd been holding since the Crimson Forest. The method worked. Now only Kenji's pages remained. The council's cheers echoed across the pitch. From the shadows, Kenji emerged, his stone face now carrying a crack.
I was wrong. The shepherd's burden can be shared without breaking anyone.
Then give me the pages. Let us finish what the Skyfire coach started.
Kenji's trembling hands produced a stack of parchment, the torn pages, their runes matching the notebook's pulse. He placed them into Asahi's palm. The scar flickered, recognizing its missing counterpart.
With these, the council ritual can begin. I'll train them. Then I am going home.
Home? You mean the village? Asahi, are you sure?
I never wanted to be a captain. The village kids deserve a real coach. Will you come?
Let me serve the council as an advisor to Atone.
The pages fluttered in the evening wind, their runes glowing one final time. The road to peace had finally opened. At the summit's closing ceremony, every captain gathered under the dome. Asahi climbed the podium, the completed notebook in his hands.
For 2 centuries, one voice commanded all. Today, that silence breaks. Let the binding reverse under these stars.
The scar flared one last time, then dimmed. Every captain in the hall gasped as an invisible weight lifted from their minds.
I can think. I can choose. It's gone.
Asahi closed the notebook and placed it into Lin's hands. The council was the shepherd now.
I am not your captain anymore. I am just a village boy who read a page. Go lead yourselves. You've already proven you can.
He's right. The sport doesn't need a shepherd, it needs gardeners. And you are all holding the seeds.
Kenji stood among the captains, no longer in exile. His old eyes followed Asahi, not with bitterness, but with the weight of a wrong finally set right. Asahi and Risa walked down the aisle, away from the banners toward a road that led to a small village with no guild seal. The captains stood on their own feet, and the game for the first time in 200 years was truly free. The red leaves of the Crimson Forest rustled as Asahi and Risa passed its edge. The village gates stood open. Within a week, a makeshift pitch appeared in the village square. Asahi painted the goal lines himself.
No captains here, just kids who deserve a coach, who won't force them to kneel.
They'll learn tactics, but more importantly, they'll learn to decide for themselves. That's the real goal.
The children came barefoot, some with old leather balls, others with nothing but raw energy. Asahi taught them to pass before shooting. One afternoon, a familiar blue cape appeared at the field's edge. Captain Lin had come, not as counsel, but as a friend.
The league is thriving. Free captains are inventing plays we never dreamed of. And Kenji, he's actually a good advisor.
So it worked. They don't need a shepherd. They are their own.
He turned back to the children. One boy had started organizing a drill on his own. No orders, just instinct.
You've planted the seeds, Asahi. Now we just water them.
During a scrimmage, a boy with fiery hair stepped forward. Without a word, he positioned his teammates, a mirror of Asahi's forgotten confidence.
That's it. No binding, no command, just true leadership. The cycle is beginning.
He's not mimicking you. He's becoming his own captain. That's what you gave them.
The boy barked a play, raw and imperfect, but entirely his own. The other kids followed without hesitation. Asahi exchanged a glance with Risa. No words needed. The scar warmed, a gentle pulse. Later, as the field emptied, they walked hand in hand along the grassy path, the sunset painting the sky gold.
It still pulses sometimes, but now it feels like a memory, not a command.
A good memory, then. The kind that doesn't bind, but reminds.
The scar's glow softened, never fully vanishing. A mark of the shepherd who chose to let his flock go. The notebook rested on a shelf in the village home, its runes barely visible. Across the continent, a new match began, with no one forcing anyone to kneel. Across the continent, stadiums filled with captains who led without chains, their plays wild and free. Captain Lin presided over the council, Kenji at her side, a framed photo of Asahi on the wall, and in a forgotten village, a boy who once read a page now taught children to pass before shooting.
Every child who learns to lead is a victory. That's the only title I ever wanted.
The notebook rested on a wooden shelf, its runes now faint as old pencil marks. Beside it, a single wildflower from Risa.
It's done, isn't it? The shepherd's tale.
No, it's just begun, but not with a shepherd, with a flock that knows the way.
The runes flickered one last time, then faded. The world played on, unchained. And somewhere in a small village, a boy who'd been a shepherd taught the next generation to lead themselves.